Greetings, chess aficionados. Welcome to the final chapter. Philidor. Here we see a d6 move order. We're not going into any other openings besides e4, e5, but this is a transition into an e5 opening. At some point we will, and feel free to state in the comments other openings you'd like me to look at for white and for black. For right now, I'm laser focused on e4, e5. Okay, d4, knight f6, knight c3, and now e5. So black has kind of tricked us into this move order where now we're defending this pawn this way. And if, for instance, say we play knight f3, black will just play bishop e7, bishop c4, knight d7, and then he's going to we'll castle, he'll castle, and then there's nothing wrong with this particular opening for white, but likely black has played this dozens, maybe hundreds of times, and he's very familiar, and black is quite solid here. Another thing you might be thinking after e5 is, can we just trade and take the queens off, and now black can't castle? And it's true, and you could play this way. This is playable for white, but it's not as much of an advantage as you might think. Without the queens on, and black's king in the center is not such a big deal. He's going to put his bishop somewhere, maybe here, c6, tuck his king over here, bring his knight out. And without the queens, and it's not like we have an extra pawn or something. Obviously, in a lot of the openings where we take on f7 and get this position, that's a totally different story. But here, yeah, black and white actually score pretty equally, and the engine rates it pretty equally as well. And obviously, if black plays this way, he's willing to go into this endgame. And again, you could play this if you want, if it's good for endgame practice. But we're trying to squeeze a little more out of the opening. So instead of pawn takes pawn, and instead of knight f3, I'm going to go ahead and recommend knight ge2. So basically, our idea is similar to the Han variation, where we're going to fianchetto the bishop, castle, get our king safe, and then slowly try to get a pawn storm going with h3, g4, potentially g5, f4, when black castles kingside. So I'll show you what that might look like. So bishop e7, natural, g3, c6. So after c6, we could play a5 to stop b4. To stop b5. A4 to stop b5. Or we could just ignore it in fianchetto and maybe later play a3. It's kind of up to you. This is not one of these concrete gambit lines where you have to remember the exact moves. It's more just about ideas, and hopefully this video will help you see some of the basic ideas. So here, yeah, G2 we could play, or we could play A4. It's up to you. Both moves score pretty well for white. A3. Yeah, we do want to stop this pawn, at least for now. The nice thing about this opening is usually we'll have enough protection of the e pawn, but we don't really want to have the knight get driven back yet. And black will usually castle here. If he tries to get crazy, keep in mind we can just castle and ignore this, because if he pushes past, keep in mind this pawn is pinned. So yeah, this is not a possibility. And yeah, so here our idea is to play h3, bishop here, g4, knight g3, potentially into here. So let me show you an example game in this line. So this is Alexander Grishuk versus Evgeny Agrest. Forgive my pronunciation. So yeah, we get in through to the move order I was just speaking about, and knight ge2, knight bd7, g3, bishop e7, bishop g2, castle, castle, c6, and in this game, white does play a4. b6, you can see black's position's a bit kind of cramped up. He doesn't really have a good spot to bring the bishop out this way, not to mention the knights are in the way. So he decides to fianchetto instead. h3. We could develop the bishop first, but this move could be potentially annoying. It's probably fine. We could just go back and he could go back. Or we could even go to d2. But h3 is part of our plan anyway. Bishop b7, bishop e3, a6, g4, b5, and white just ignores this and moves his knight now So now if this pawn is pushed, then we can safely bring the other knight there. We don't have to bring it back to b1. So black takes, white takes with the queen, and after c5, he puts his queen back on d2, which is a nice square. And keep in mind this pawn is backwards and weak, which often happens in the Philidor. b4, as mentioned, the knight comes into e2. Knight e5, always keep an eye on this square, but for right now it's covered by the bishop. And if you want to take a second or two, think about what black wants to do next. Yeah, probably hop in here. So b3, g6, rook a d1. The thing I like about this game, the moves are all very natural. White's not playing any kind of crazy, wild tactics that only a 2700 player could find. Like, it's all pretty kind of natural, normal moves. Queen c7, and then f4. So now the pawns are rolling. Might look a bit dangerous for white's king, but if you really look at the position, black's pieces are just not really in attacking mode, and we have so many pieces that are A, defensive, but can also lash out towards black's king at a moment's notice. Knight c6, g5, kicking the other knight away, and the knight goes back, and now the arrow gives it away. But keep in mind now that this d pawn is pinned, so e5 comes. And yeah, this pawn can't be taken because the knight will drop. So black tries to kind of gum up the works. White takes the bishop. Black takes with the check, takes with the queen, and now finally white wins a pawn. And then, yeah, the rest of this game is surprisingly easy. Well, everything's easy when you're 2700, but it's a great position. The bishop goes back, awkwardly interfering with the rooks, and yeah, none of black's pieces are too impressive. The one piece that could be kind of annoying is the queen eyeing down our king. So white just takes care of that. Trading queens when you're pawn up is usually a good idea anyway. Queen takes queen, king takes, e8 attacking the bishop. But now with the queens off, the king feels safe to venture out into the wild. Um, Bishop b6, we're protecting this pawn. But now rook fe1. Again, this game is just like very natural, very like nice, understandable moves. So the rooks occupy the center. This one supports the advanced pawn. f5. Just trying to block things up, I guess. But white just takes. Knight takes. And now a nice move here, a5. Distracting this bishop from the defense of this pawn. The bishop could go back, but then it's a bit awkward over here. So he takes the a pawn. White takes the c pawn. And now, yeah, the bishop is nicely protecting the advanced pawn. The knight attacks it. The bishop drops back towards the center. King comes up, and the rooks come off. And nice, tiny little tactic. You could really even hardly call it a tactic, but it is a double attack. And yeah, now white will be 2 pawns up, and the rest is not too hard. The knight that wasn't doing much on g3 comes into the game. Could potentially check. Could potentially come this way. So the pawn runs. The rook protects it, attacking the knight. The knight drops back. Now the knight protects it. Yeah, the knight comes back out. The rook hops over to attack the b pawn. Now black checks, and he takes our c pawn, protecting the b pawn. But yeah, now the king can come up. And after knight e8, this is the last move of the game. Pretty clear that black is lost. King here is coming, driving the rook away, and then queening the pawn. Keep in mind the king can never come here because the knight will support the rook with check, driving the king back. Not to mention the knight will be hanging there. So that's just game over. So yeah, I hope this game was instructive to you. And yeah, I would look over the opening a bit more and look at other games in this line. But it's pretty easy to play. It's pretty easy to remember the ideas, and it will definitely throw black off his game because he's very much expecting. Yeah, he's expecting you to either take and trade queens and play that end game or net f3, and and yeah, play this type of game, which again Black will have played many many times, and Black scores pretty well in this. It's about even actually. It's exactly even, 47% versus 47% with a few draws. So yeah, so now you got a bit of a weapon, and the nice thing is um, that this goes well with the exchange variation also. So that's the end of the Philidor. Next, we're going to get into the Petrov, and then finally we're going to get into the main line of Italian, Evans Gambit, and two knights. Um, knights, excuse me, yeah, two knights defense with where we got knight g5. So but we still got a long way to go. We got to get through the Petrov, important opening, and hopefully you feel pretty well prepared for almost all the sidelines now. We just got one left, and then we're going to get